Hello, Hitless Gaming here. Bringing you a video that a few of you guys have been asking for quite some time, and I wasn't sure how I wanted to portray it until this morning when my skill queue finished. Um, this might not be a very direct to the point video. I kind of want to tell you guys why I do this. There's a part of the game called attributes, and I'm sure you guys know that attributes are a very powerful tool that are a double-edged sword. And I didn't want to make this video because I didn't want to get people. I'm going to start by saying in this video, I don't want you to just watch this video and be like, I'm going to do that right now. I want you to think about what you're doing as it has a big impact on what your skill training looks like. You are given a default attribute layout, which is evenly spread on all of your attributes when you create your character, and you're given one free neural remap. And then you have two neural remaps on top of that. So you got your free yearly neural remap, you got your two free ones that you store. So if you use two neural remaps back to back, you have one left, and then if you don't use them for a few years, you'll build up a bank of two of them. In this instance, I finished my intelligence memory spec on my main, and we're going to be switching to perception willpower to shorten a queue. And I'm going to explain why this is powerful and why this can be bad, and why I only really do this on one or two of my characters and not all eight of them. And I'll go ahead and kind of take you through it, how my decision-making process works with this, and how I have a long-term plan to complete all of the tabs on my character. And we're working on it. But I digress. Let's get in the game and kind of look at where we find this. So we'll go ahead and go on Buck first. I have a character set up to show comparisons of unspec'd or unmapped characters. But as we can see, my base stats here are 20. I have 30 points, or I have 30 in intelligence and 24 in memory. Because the skills that I was training are intelligence was the primary attribute, and memory was the secondary attribute. How skill point training works is you take the primary attribute and you add half of the secondary attribute, and that's how many skill points you train per minute. So if we look at a skill, if I open up the skill menu here, and yes, I just built this long queue, which is like half the skills that I want. I kind of put them in an order that made sense-ish to me. So I'm going to be working on these skills for the next year. And the idea is to see how much of a reduction we get for the wow factor, how big of a difference this does make. And but let's explain how skill points are trained. So when you hover over a skill, it will tell you your skill points per minute. And how they get this number is, in this case, right now, I'm not spec'd at all into any of these. I'm not spec'd in any way into these at all. So I have 20 in perception, 20 in willpower, which we just showed there on my character screen. So I have 20. So we have 20 plus half of 20. Perception is 20 plus half of 20 for willpower, which is 20. So it's 10. So that's 30 skill points per minute. So if this skill is in my queue, I'll be training it at 30 skill points per minute. Now, there's a couple things that you can do to increase this number without respecking your character. The first is you can get yourself a learning clone once you train cybernetics. You can go ahead. I was looking up the RIA to see how important Jump Freighter 5 is. I might train it. I might not. I'm gonna train it. It's just a matter of time. It's in this set, in this neural remap that I'm doing. I wanted to figure out how important it was. It's a 60-day skill right now. It's insane. Anyways, if we look at implants and boosters, and not boosters, but if we look at implants, there are attribute enhancers slot 0 through 5. And the fancy sets that give you a cool bonus can come up to +4. So high grades always give you +4 attributes. Low grades always give you +3 or +2, And mid grades always give you +3 in all your attributes. That's why my character has 24 or 20 rather than 17, because he's in a mid grade clone. So he has +3 to all of his attributes right now because he's in a mid grade clone at the moment. You can set up, and I'll make a video about making a learning specific clone. But if you get yourself a improved version of it, so the ocular filter improved, which I just grabbed slot, I think ocular slot 1, or slot 3 is the neural boost. The improved is +5. They normally run for around 110, 120 million ISK, and the standards are 20 million ISK. But these will give you +5 attributes, means you're going to train that skill point five skill points per minute faster. If this is your primary attribute. If it's your secondary attribute, it'll increase it by 2.5 skill points per minute. Doesn't sound like a lot when skills take hundreds of thousands of skill points, but that's every minute, and this difference adds up over time very quickly. So, and I plan on making a video how to set one of these up, but I encourage you to set up a learning clone in the Tranquility Trade Tower and park your character there for any amount of time that you plan on not playing. That allows you to have your character learning faster, and then when you play, you use your high grade or your mid grade or whatever clone, or you get an empty clone, or park your character in a learning clone before you log off. Might be a good habit. Anyways, I'm going to make another video on that. The idea of this video is to understand attributes and how they work and why they're so important when you're trying to speed up your character training, and why it's also a double-edged sword when you take things off. So I'm speccing out of intelligence and memory, and I believe intelligence and memory has things in science. So we can look at, we finished Graviton Physics 5, and that was the last one in our queue. And so I can't see an estimated time for training. What do I have? Intelligence and memory, perception, willpower. Production is memory intelligence. It's inverse. And I don't really have any skills left to show you guys times for intelligence and memory. Oh, here we go. Jerry rigging 5. I believe this is intelligence and memory. Show info. Yeah, it's intelligence and memory. So right now I'm intelligence memory spec, and we'll go back and we'll look at this this skill afterwards, so you guys can see a smaller impact. But this is a 512 skill, so it's a 2x skill, and I think you can find a 2x skill somewhere. 2x skill, is there one in my queue? 9 days, that's probably a 4x skill. Show info. Oh, there's a 2x skill too. This one has 9 days on it. This one has 6 days. So here's the difference. So these are both 512 skills, and they're both already, well, this one's, yeah, this is looking at 4 to 5. This is looking at 4 to 5 as well. So 6 days and 23 hours versus 9 days and 19 hours versus being in spec and being out of spec. That's 3 days every 10 days. That's a big difference. That's 30% faster. And then I'll can show you guys the same skill, or another 1x on Hateless here. I chose Hateless for this because I have never respect Hateless. And Hateless is a good example of just, biding time and doing things. If we look at the same skill, I believe he has in rigging, unspec'd. His jury rigging is actually 3, and I'm not going to put this to 4. That's a 768. That's 768. We have to find a 512 skill to show. I believe it ends up being 8 days. I believe in gunnery there might be a couple that this character doesn't have. Gunnery, medium projectile, that's not a 1x. Even 768, so that's a 3x. Do I have anything on this character that's a 2x that needs to be trained to 5? Oh, here's one. This is a 2x skill. This character is, again, not spec'd, and without specking, it's 8 days. So if I spec out of a skill, not knowing that I needed to train it, and I do the respec without having my long-term plan or not having like the Magic 14, because when you're a new player or a new pilot, you're going to be changing your queue a lot, and you're going to change your mind on skills. You're going to be like, oh, I want to train this engineering skill, and then you're going to change your mind. You're going to be like, oh, I want to train this navigation skill, and you might be like, oh, well, now I need the spaceship command skill. If you're bouncing around skills a lot, when you respec, it can bite you in the ass. So since all my alts their foundations aren't completely laid yet, they're getting there. They're very close. They're all very close to 103 million skill points is a pretty strong foundation. But what happens is instead of being 8 days and 11 hours, it turns it into like a 10-day skill. And then if you have a respect, it turns it into like a 6 and a 7-day skill, which is awesome, being able to do that. But again, it's a double-edged sword. With that being said, and the caveat that took me 10 minutes to explain, let's get in how to do this. So first, you're going to design your skill plan. You're going to decide what you want with your character. My long-term goal on this character is to complete all of the combat-related skills subcap. And I've done that. And then while I was in intelligence and memory, I decided to train all the capital skills that are intelligence and memory based as well. Since we were in the spec, again, capital skills take forever, so training them fast is nice. So I finished all the skills associated, combat related, that are associated with combat and or intelligence and memory, except for I believe in hull and armor, or in armor, I do not have capital hull repair systems and remote hull repair systems, as hull repair systems are really bad. I should probably switch back over to Buck to show you guys this. So I am, for all intents and purposes, I have the navigation tab done. I got the rigging tab done. There's no reason to change Jaeger rigging 5. I have shields done. I don't plan on ever using a recoil on this pilot. I have social is, I believe, also intelligence and memory. No, it's charisma and intelligence, so I don't need to touch that. His fleet command is good. His entire engineering tab is done. His entire electronic system is done. So really all I got left on this character is drones, which is memory and perception, which requires a unique spec. And then I need to finish the spaceship command tab, which is the biggest tab in the game, which is mostly perception and willpower. The exception is the Tech 2 skills, like Jump Raiders, should be willpower perception. Show info on this one. Its primary is willpower and perception. They're inverse. So if we're training the tier 2 skills, you either want to respec again for the other way around, or you can just deal with training a little bit slower when training tier 2 skills. But I'm respecing in, and if you notice, we have a couple capital skills in this. I have a Mar Dreadnought going to 4. It's the last Dreadnought I need to train. Capital Energy Turret going to 5. The all tech ones follow the intelligence and memory, and then also in subsystems, which are here, half of the skills are intelligence and memory, and half are perception and willpower. So we're also going to be knocking out the other half of all the subsystem skills while we're in this spec. And basically, I have like a 2-year-long queue that I have planned while I'm in the spec. And you need the queue to be at least a year so that you get your neural remap back, because you get a free neural remap every year if you use it. If you don't use it, you can only store 2. So my character has 2 neural remaps. And a year from now, on December 23rd, I will have 2 again. And I'm going to use one of them right now to change into perception and willpower. So I want to show you guys how that impacts the skills. And so it's really easy to do. You hit this little remap button, and you shimmy things around. The default spec is literally like this. They go like this. And this is the default spec. You can go through and you spend them all, but you only have so many attributes that you can spend. And then once you're out, you're out. So 20 is base, is like the standard base. If you haven't done anything with this, you have 20s in your queue. But if you take them all out, and you put them in what you want, you go as many as we can into perception, because that's our primary attribute, and then the remaining into willpower, because that's our secondary. This will give us the fastest skill training. If we were if we were looking for something a little bit more balanced for the 2, we could do something like this if we were training a lot of the tier 2 skills and we were doing a mix. But it's generally advised to min-max this as far as you can. So we are going to go perception willpower and only train perception willpower specs. There's a really cool tool, I'm not sure if it still works, where you can make a skill plan, and then you can tell it how many neural remaps you have, and then it will sort all the skills and give you remap makes to make that skill plan the fastest you can possibly make it with your current remaps. And it'll give you really weird combinations and be like, yeah, well, we just need, 1 point into memory for the spec to make it a little bit faster. It'll min-max the crap out of it like that. Uh, I really generally advise you build your foundation, you get your, your Magic 14 up, you get your money makers trained, and after you do that, you kind of go into a specific spec to train a skill as fast as you can, and then train all the skills associated with that, or make a plan that's a year that utilizes that map, and then every year you just kind of reassess it. But for this flip, we're doing this. We're going Perception Willpower. This trains Gunnery, Spaceship Command, and Gunnery and Spaceship Command skills. This is the most common neural remap as well, because it's the one that allows you to train new guns and new Spaceship Command once you have your Magic 14, your foundation laid, and you have, all your armor and your shield skills and your engineering skills done. Perception of Willpower is what lets you train ships faster, train into different ships faster once you can train a few ships really well. So this is a really good example of what we're doing. Our queue time here is 416 days. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save changes. I'm going to double check that we did this right, because these are very limited and there's no way to get additional neural remaps without waiting a year. And you can kind of bork your character for a year if you do this wrong, or you can waste a neural remap. I'm just going to make sure that this is actually Perception Willpower. We're going to make sure, we're going to double check. Again, Perception and Willpower. I know I'm doing this right. I'm double checking. I'm triple checking. I'm making sure this is done right. And then we hit save changes. It tells you you're about to use a timed remap. You will not be able to use a timed remap again until 12 months have elapsed. Are you sure you want to proceed with this neural remap? So you get one per year. Sorry, I was mistaken on that, but I'm not going to consume my 2 free neural remaps. I'm going to keep my free neural remaps, so I'm going to use my timed one, which is what's stored. We go ahead and save that, and then I have a date of when I can use my next neural remap, and that is at this date and time. And then if we look at this queue again, we just knocked, it went from 416 days to 297. We knocked a little over 120 days, or a little under 120 days off of this. So one's 360 or 297. Actually, I'm going to calculate this. Utilities calculator. What was it? It was 416 subtract 297. We knocked 119 days off of our queue just by doing this neural remap. And this queue is now no longer 360 days long. It's less than that. So if I were to plan this out for a whole year, I could throw in a couple more skills. And I'll do that when this list gets shorter. I'll throw a bunch more skills in. But that's how you maximize your skill training and get the absolute fastest skill training you can get. This makes a difference of going from like 1.2 million skill points a month to like 1.9 million skill points a month. So if you're wanting to get the most out of your Plex or get the most out of your skill training, this is what you need to figure out and do. It takes a lot of time to figure it out. It takes time to make your plan. But making plans in EVE and sticking to them is highly rewarding. So it's just kind of another lesson in the game. And that's really what I got for you guys for doing attributes and a neural remap. That's really all you guys need to know to do this and to make this decision. Again, with what I said earlier, make damn sure this is what you want to do and make it your plan. Don't just hastily jump into doing this because you saw that, at a 416-day queue go to 219 days or 297 days. Don't just jump into it. It is powerful, but it can stab you in the foot. So say my plans changed and I had a completely different plan and I needed to now say I need to train the capital hull repair systems. Now I'm spec'd out of it. I didn't note the time, but you guys can go note the time. But say I needed to train that, it would take me significantly longer to train the skill. Generally, what I recommend is you set your plan, and then if your plan deviates or you need something, you use your free skill points to train things that are off spec. So if I'm knowing that I'm getting into mining here with this Infinite Graviton Physics, and I plan on getting into mining and training more mining skills, I'm going to be using my free skill points to train them because they take a really long time because I just trained out of Perception Willpower. So if I go into resource processing, training these skills is now going to take significantly longer than it was, but I do plan on using free skill points to train them as needed because that's how all my characters are on plans, kind of. And getting into mining kind of made it take a halt. And since most of my characters aren't mapped, making that change isn't a big deal. But on this character, if I were to give skill points, put skill points into mining, it would slow down my training while I trained that for quite a while. But when I decide to want to go mine in Pochvin, I'm going to use free skill points to train this rather than doing a spec train. And this is in fact intelligence memory or memory intelligence. It's actually inverse from what I had. So these skills would have trained a lot faster had I done them in my last spec. But I do plan on doing that flip back to complete these tabs on all my miners, or just wait for free skill points to give these. You do get free skill points for various reasons from events and whatnot. You end up with quite a few. I recently redeemed all that I had about a month ago, and we have now about another million here. Or sorry, 660,000. So now 747,000 skill points that I can use to say if I want to get into a different ore, if I want to do basic moon ores. I believe I train moon. I don't know where it is. Moon something. Industrial reconfiguration, mining, rare moon ores. There's a basic moon ore or something. Common moon ores. Coherent ore. But when I want to do that switch, I can use my free skill points to unlock the crystals that I need, if that makes sense. And that's my plan. I don't plan on actually training any more mining skills, but as I try different mining environments, I'm going to use the free skill points to do it. But I'm not going to be sticking them in my queue because that's not very good. The alternative thing is if you have less than 80 million skill points, a video I did not yesterday but the other day, you can kind of go into you can use skill injectors or buy your skill points in other ways. And I did a whole video on buying skill points rather than training them. I thought that this would be a good complementary video to that, because I do say that Plex is a very valuable thing for training skills, and this is how I get the most out of my Plex on my main, because I cannot use skill injectors on him because it's just simply not worth it. So I have to plan and proceed forward. Anyways, with this video, make sure you guys fly fun, enjoy your time EVE Online, and continue learning and training your characters effectively so that you can fly that new ship a couple days sooner. And I'll see you guys in the next one.